He even got an interview, and this is difficult, with the MTG's piece of ass. Yeah, Captain Sidepiece over here. This is the guy who ruined Marjorie Taylor Greene's relationship. I'm kidding. She did, but she did it by fucking this guy. I'm not kidding. They apparently are. They have been knocking boots, and they still are. Oh God, I can't. Oh, it just makes your system fall apart. And there's apparently a recording of them having sex. That's terrible. Sorry. Stupid. I feel guilty now. This is terrible. Who would want to fuck out MTG? Like, apparently 6 dudes, because that was the fallout with her husband. She's going to be Marjorie Taylor when she runs again. She's going to have to he might sue to make her drop the last name, maybe. Yeah. So, desperado. Sorry. All right. So, anyways, yeah, she's knocking boots with this dude, and he introduces this idiot, and here we go. Oh, thanks, Loretta. Robert, you are all forgiven if nobody super chats me the rest of the show for being that gross. And by the way, we may have to.
Can drinking water before bed burn 46 pounds in 2 weeks? If you are struggling to lose weight and
all right, we're back here at CPAC 2023. My next.
This is great. It's like the World Series of Pokem.
Guest needs absolutely zero introduction, but
because he pays for the network.
Were to give you an introduction, it would probably
be former crackhead, current manic.
Probably take the remainder of the day of all the things you've done for this country.
Oh, thanks, Brian.
That's so sweet. That when you paid for some of the buses on January 6th, and when you you put out those 6 movies that did fuck all. Just
really mean that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and not the least of which is, of course, paying for this whole network and paying for Lindell TV at the same time to play the same shit twice in 2 different places. That takes dedication.
And we're doing it now. We put
on his mic's off. That's
it all under one roof, everybody. The electioncrimebureau.com. Go there. The Election Crime Bureau. You need to help. So you need to help out, support. I mean, everything we're doing is now.
What again? Why? I thought that in the Election Crime Bureau, like a repository for all the shit you found. Am I right? Isn't that what that is? Hadn't you been looking? What do they have to do? What are you expecting them to do? Each sneak into some Secretary of State's office and pry a fucking machine open and go, look, mall wires.
Under one roof, everything.
Okay, let me walk our viewers back a little bit.
Yeah, please, because we need some catching up. I'm already confused.
Roll back some time.
Yes, of course, because we're not talking about the future or the present even. We're talking about the past.
You are the first person.
By the way, an imaginary past, which is all right.
Person to come out after the election and say, "Wait a minute, there's some discrepancies here." I'm seeing some.
No, he wasn't. Trump said it the same fucking night.
Some potential problems. You were the first, and so I often tell our viewers, all this election integrity talk that you hear everyone talking about, if it wasn't,
I don't actually. It's been fucking years now.
If it wasn't for Mike Lindell, none of that would be even a topic of discussion.
Well, that's true, and I do appreciate the fact that he's almost single-handedly, he and Trump are keeping Republicans from voting en masse.
You got to go back. It's actually that's partial truth.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, you're half lying, whoever
Correct.
you are.
One thing of that. When we all woke up on November 4th or stayed up all night of 2020.
I stayed up all night, and who in the chat room stayed up all night with me? Look out. You know how I mean that. Anybody remember? Anybody out there? Huh? You guys?
Everyone was out there. It was all over social media. I was looking. I did my own investigation. I'm looking into states and stuff. But you're
states and stuff. Yeah.
You're hearing it was everywhere. All these weird anomalies. They shut down the machines in the middle of the night. Shut down county. Brian, one of the biggest things
By the way, Republicans insisted on shutting these things down in the middle of the night. Like the places where they stopped the counting until 6 a.m. the next morning, that was part of it. They were trying to they were trying to use the red mirage as a mask for Trump losing, which they knew he was going to do.
Wait a minute. I started looking at states like Nevada and Nebraska, different states.
Yeah, any one of all the states that start with an N, you know, like Alaska, North Dakota, North Carolina, Missouri.
States going, how come people voted, that all these illegals voted, not illegals, that non-residents voted. This was a big thing to me. I'm going, wow, like Nevada, like 40-some thousand or 30-some thousand non-residents voted that don't live in Nevada. And I'm going,
that's because a lot of them, and they do live in Nevada, but they serve in the military bases, one of which is just like, well, I'm pointing in the wrong direction. It's that way. It's just about an hour's drive. And a lot of them live on base most of the time, but their house and their address is here. But fuck the military, right? That's the message overall.
Just march across and commit crimes. That many people, it'd be an army of people.
Right.
People are genuinely good people, and it didn't make sense to me. And we went all the way through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are. But you're assuming that if you lose, that means there are more bad people in the world, instead of you're a loser.
Through November and December and...
Yeah, Florida, North Utah, absolutely. Malarkey, Nebraska would be. There has to be a town called Malarkey, Nebraska. If there isn't, I'm going to start.
And I kept finding more of this. I look at my home state of Minnesota and Wisconsin, all these deviations. Well,
states that went for Clinton in the past or Obama.
Then, two things happen, as you know.
Yes, crack and cocaine.
On January 7th and 8th.
Uh-huh. After Trump supporters tried to murder police officers and members of Congress. Go on.
In January 7th and 8th. Well, I'm going to backtrack.
Yeah, go back to when they're planning to murder cops and members of Congress.
I got to put this in there.
Yeah, put it in there, like he did with Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm sorry. Why could I not? That's just wrong. It's so wrong. I don't care. I just don't care because these people are gross.
I was in Georgia for the runoff on January 4th that was going to be voted on the next day. And I sat there and prayed to God, going, please, God, have them steal both the senators.
I'm going to... All right. First of all, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that didn't happen. I'm also gonna say, you know, he's kind of stupid. So it is possible that that crossed his mind, and that counts as a prayer if it crossed your mind, I suppose. Especially if you're as pious and good as Mike Pillow is. You know, any random thought you have is taken as wrote by the Lord God Almighty to be set in stone somehow. It's a weird thing to pray for. It really is. Why wouldn't you just, because there are a couple things. One is, and I don't want to be too much of a purist about this, but the purest prayer there is, if you're a good old-fashioned Christian, is thy will be done. Deus Vult is, how can I play a part in the best good, you know, make me an instrument of the best good in the world, and help me shed some of my baser traits so that I may be a better vehicle. Like, you pray about your own character, and then you can say, you know, what you will, correct? I would bring Ficus in, but it's we got it. That's a technical issue right now. He's on vacation, but he's coming. Don't worry. We're gonna Yeah. But the fact that this asshole was like, I think we should wreck the world for because he genuinely thinks, understand what comes with that. It isn't just about losing 2 elections. He actually thinks that the people that were elected were like communists who are going to destroy the country and hate the country and are terrible and blah, 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 and just violent, awful. And so you're hoping violent, awful happens just to prove your point. It's a bit fucked up as a prayer. I'm just saying.
And you're saying, Mike, it's your fault now. And I'm going,
yeah, it is. I blame you.
No. I said, if
God's never listened to my prayers before. Why would I think he'd start now?
If I would have been the bad guys, I would have said, give them back one of them so they shut up about this election.
Really? I don't think so. Because Democrats, I don't know if you know this, Democrats at one point had 58 senators. And interestingly enough, we lost a lot of what the people were, the people counted as blue dogs because of the lack of public option in the ACA. And curiously enough, we lost a few of those guys. Us getting back up to 58 is not out of the question. So we're not at the point where, split 50-50 is mandated by the Lord God Almighty, because we've had this before.
Because everybody was talking about it, right?
Yeah, everybody was talking about it.
And
I don't know what they were talking about, but they were talking about it.
But they did take, if they would have done that, nobody would have talked about election crime. Nobody would have.
Well, because there wouldn't have been one in your mind. So you were praying for election crime in this instance so that you could extrapolate backwards and say, every time I've lost, when Donald Trump lost, it was election crime. And unfortunately, all right.
They were greedy. They took them both because they had a backup plan. And what was the backup plan?
I don't know. Considering it's our backup plan, I'd like to know. I mean, we never needed to use it because obviously plan A, pow.
And January 6th. And when January 6th happened, everybody on January 7th, a very significant day in history, on January 7th and 8th, 1.2 million Americans were deplatformed. Churches around the world,
American churches around the world. You mean foreign churches?
Pressed on YouTube, Vimeo, all these platforms. They wanted to silence our voices forever. The rest.
Well, I first of all, no. Second of all, you're only talking. The only people who got kicked off were people calling for violent revolution, or who participated in an attempted violent coup. Because I guess they couldn't be trusted to DM safely.
Most of the people, Brian, would not talk. They just wouldn't talk because they were in fear.
Well, yeah, of course. Nobody said anything. Remember that? Remember, and ever since Biden's been in power, no one can speak. Can I just say for the record, let's talk about conspiracies for just one split second, if I may. One of the things we hear all the time is that the overlord, the big brother, is going to control everything, and if at public schools indoctrinate kids, they can only think like drones, and there's always, and they're going to shut you down, and everybody's afraid that they're going to be, the government's going to attack you and throw you in jail just for thinking the wrong thing. And it kind of reminds me of the fluoride argument, which we heard for years, that they put fluoride in the water not to, like they put iodine and salt, help a deficiency that caused a lot of expense, pain, and medical problems for a vast majority of people, namely in the case of fluoride, like hardening your teeth, less dental caries, and therefore less cavities, therefore less gums bleeding, therefore less gingivitis, therefore less heart disease because it's linked together. And then you put iodine in salt because you need the iodine and blah, blah, blah. Not that reason. They put the fluoride in the water, according to these assholes, so that it would make everyone passive. And it would seem to me that since they have done this, people have become mouthier than ever. I have lived in the era post-fluoride, and it has not been my experience that the world has gotten, that the American people in general have gotten more passive. Did anybody see that the fall-on attack, the effect of fluoride being that everybody's just too just too kumbaya to even fight about shit. Like, we're not even divided anymore. No, the other chemicals were to make the frogs gay. And that's because Alex Jones is afraid of his own penis. I mean, it's not like he's seen it in years, but you get my point. Anyways, so in this case, these guys, the idea that there's this big conspiracy, everything is a giant Orwellian conspiracy so large that it would collapse under its own weight. A brontosaurus of a conspiracy trying to cross a bridge that creaks when a Toyota drives across it. It is absurd on its fucking face. And every time they bring up one of these things is the idea that, like, they're telling us they're silencing our voices. Meanwhile, this motherfucker has 2 networks of his own, 3 if you count like the ads he has on Newsmax and RSBN. He almost single-handedly pays for. He can walk onto any of these fucking networks anytime he wants and say whatever the fuck he wants. In Newsmax, he can't say Dominion. They kicked him off for that because he was going to they got sued for $1 billion for lying. But everywhere else, this asshole can pretty much say whatever he wants. And the government isn't stopping him. The government never stopped him from saying shit about Dominion. Dominion did, because he was lying about them. And his ridiculous, outlandish accusations, he had no evidence for. This man, think of all the evidence this motherfucker has. And understand that the networks that he's talking to have seen all of it, just like I've seen all of it. And they're like, their lawyers looked over it. Like, believe me, the Fox lawyers are combing through all of Mike Pillow's evidence that he has on his website and his little fucking documentaries to find one shred of truth so they can say, we legitimately believed it because A plus B equals C. And they can't find it. Meanwhile, this motherfucker is saying that the Big Brother's shutting him down and everybody's getting their voices. They were afraid to speak and blah, blah, blah. And that they're going to, because a bunch of people who suggested murdering their fellow Americans lost their goddamn YouTube channel because Google doesn't want to participate in a bloody insurrection. Also, can I just say, these are the same motherfuckers who were talking about Hillary being in Gitmo already and hung there, or going to be, or she went back together. They made a clone of her, and then the clone went to Gitmo, and they're hanging her clone for sins that the original committed, which seems like abortion, actually. I don't know how the fuck. What did the clone do? What do? You make a clone, and you feed all of the memories of the guilty party into it, and then you kill it again? For what? Yes, and also JFK Jr. is alive.
Well, then here's where it comes in what you're talking about.
What was he talking about?
I wanted to keep talking, but nobody would listen to me.
Well, no, we all listened. It just didn't add up.
Because at the end, the media just didn't talk to me. But
excuse me, I am media. I'm maybe, side piece media. I might be new media. I might be, mini media. That's what I am. I'm mini media. I'm a mini media.
On January 9th, I was given evidence.
You complete me.
That pointed to one thing: machines, computers. And I go, wow. I knew it. I knew it.
You knew it because you knew not 40,000 people aren't going across the border.
They're
right.
good people.
He's buying it. That's the look of a man who is talking to a sane person and understands that the truth is. And it looks like the moment he's having is like, fuck, this is the same shit Marjorie Taylor Greene yells out while we're having sex. All right. That's enough of that. You're so wrong.
This way, Brian. Only one.
He literally was like, looking. Can I get the waiter? Is the waiter coming by? Can I get a check, please? Thanks.
Person could press a button if they wanted. And I never stopped talking about it, but they wanted me stopped. That's why they canceled all my voices. They canceled all my retailers. They attacked me.
No, they canceled. They didn't want to sell your shit anymore, because they were not going to participate in funding a violent insurrection that involved someone building gallows on the fucking Capitol grounds. Nobody owes you a fucking living, you victim.
Things are playing out right now as we speak. Let's talk about January 6th.
Yeah, let's talk about
Finally, we get 40,000 hours of tape release, but they didn't release it to us. They gave it to Fox News.
What in the world? Yeah, I know. We're all pissed about that, too. It definitely seems hinky.
Well, shame on Kevin McCarthy. I'm suing him. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, I'm suing.
He's suing him as a media outlet because he should have gotten all the footage so that he could go through it and selectively release chopped portions of it to paint the picture he wants it to paint.
As we speak, everybody, I'm suing him.
Suing him for what?
Here's what it is. I'm on last Friday. I made it public last Friday that.
Yeah, you weren't listening? What the fuck? Where were you? You doing some sort of like CrossFit leather show with Marge? Barf, barf.
I was going to request that all media outlets, RSBN, Lindell TV, CNN, MSNBC, all of us have rights to that. You can't just cherry pick out a news outlet. It's called discrimination. My lawyers got it on freedom of the press. It's our rights, Brian. And this is it. And you know what's funny?
You know what's funny is that your complaints seem to be with the Republican Party, and they seem to be the same complaints that everybody else has. How's it feel? How's it feel, Mike Pillow, to get stiff-armed by the people you want in power? Because he does realize that if the Democratic machine that was cheating in the elections gave back some power, or the power of the Senate, for example, that Mitch McConnell would be in charge, another person he fucking hates. And in the House, they want a narrow margin where McCarthy is in charge. They do this to themselves, and this isn't our fucking fault.
When I went out and said I was going to sue him, if he doesn't give them to us, we had till, I think it was Monday, he didn't do it, so now my lawyers are getting this ready to sue.
Okay, they're great. They're going to take it straight to the Supreme Court, and it's going to have a reading and all that kind of stuff, like all the other lawsuits that.
Now the media, the left-wing media, is going, Mike Lindell, the great CEO of MyPillow, he's suing Kevin McCarthy to get the tapes for all of us. You know, these are your CNNs of the
So
world.
now they're your friends now.
Now they're my friends.
Okay.
But you know what? They were a lot friendly when you think of the last couple years where they've attacked me, but yet we've been able to get the word out, Brian.
Yeah.
And other than RSBN and a few others, the
yeah.
War Room and my own platform, Frank Speech, that keep that word out. But the attackers help too,
Right.
and they would.
Yeah, he means me. I feel some level of responsibility. I had to do it. I couldn't stop myself. It was like an addiction. You know, and I don't know if you know what it's like to be an addict, Mike, but it's not pretty. It's not a pretty sight. And I tried, but I would wake up in the middle of the night, arms itching, night sweats, going, I have to show people Mike Pillow's documentary and go through it sentence by sentence and point out every lie, even if it takes me 6 hours, which it often did. I feel guilty and yet a little dirty. I'm okay with it.
Attack, and I'd say, you know, through the attacks going, Mike Lindell, I've gotten to be friends with a lot of them. I have to actually correct them and go, you better bash me a little bit or your boss ain't going to.
Well, I've seen you walk around here, and obviously you're drawing a crowd. What is it? Has there been negative media against you today? Has there been people coming up?
One.
Yeah, because this is a little
reporter, but I caught him when they asked a stupid question about had nothing to do with what I'm here for, to educate people about our election platform. He asked me about Ukraine. I'm going, and I could tell what he was getting at, like, you know, it took pairing Biden or Donald Trump or who knows. Mm-hmm. And I said,
I knew what he was talking about. I think. Who knows what he was talking about?
What kind of a reporter are you?
Yes.
I said,
I think I heard that. I was walking by.
You come up and you ask me such a stupid question. I said, you know what? And he goes, I said, are you a left wing? He goes, I'm an independent, or I'm right in the middle. I go, no, you're not. I said, you're another coward journalist that's out there to attack.
It's a you know, you don't get to see a lot of true Christians in the wild. You know what I mean? Out there, just, you know, freely expressing themselves anymore. You know, it's nice. It's refreshing to see a person who deeply, you know, he wears a cross all the time. I don't know if you know that. And it apparently is representative of some sort of a spiritual path or ethics that he believes. And it's nice that somebody asks him a question that isn't 100% in alignment with whatever he's trying to sell, his merch from his stupid crime bureau thing, and he shits on them, and he's rude and kind of an asshole. Again, early on, I think a lot of us thought that Mike Pillow was just a sponge-headed fuck who was being taken advantage of because of his addictive personality and his sort of lazy use of money. And you know, Tix came along and found a big fat dog. But it turns out, no, he's actually a terrible person. Yeah.
Me, somehow you're trying to figure out an angle to attack me. I said, you know what, buddy? I don't care. I said, dude, but you are wasting my time because I only have so many hours here to educate every.
I've only got so many hours here to say the same shit I say all the time.
One here and what we have to do to save our country. I want to say this, Brian, before we run out of time.
Right.
The Election Crime Bureau, when you go there, you will know everything you can do. You'll have all the resources we will give you for your county to go to fix your election platforms. That's one day, same day voting, the best can-counted process, get rid of the machines. Now, let me tell you the big lie, the new big lie.
Okay.
And this comes from Republicans. And most of it's the establishment, but there's a few people in here that still, that they because of what happened in Arizona, they believe this. What happened is everyone's saying, and this is like even the RNC, when I was there running for the chair, they're going, we've got to do like the Democrats. Vote early. Look what happened in Arizona. What if something goes wrong with the machine?
By the way, Trump just said this.
We got to vote early and ballot harvest and drop boxes. And, you know, if you can't fight them, join them.
If you can't beat them, join them. Fighting them is an ongoing endeavor. Beating is a resolution. Oh, God.
If you do that, we lose our country. We have fought 2 years.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you, Mike Pillow. You tell him. Don't vote until the actual election day. And if something happens, God's will. He doesn't want you to vote. It's great. Yeah, right. Right. It's good to know that no matter how much Republicans try to salvage the early vote and making strategically using mail-in voting like fucking adults, Mike is talking like Chenkanana. Yes, they're in the same business. They're in the business of snuffing the vote. It's snuff the vote. That's what we're looking at.
To do same-day voting, get rid of these machines. 2 years. You're going to destroy everything we fought for.
Well, that's how they feel about you.
In a heartbeat. And let me tell you, Brian, on that, what they did in Arizona, we knew they were going to try to do something because we told everybody to vote same day.
Right. And it's part of the reason you lost. It's a huge reason.
Well, the only way to cheat Carrie Lake to get rid of her was to do what? Make the machines not work. All
right. All the voting machines worked. The tally machines weren't working. Your vote was still fucking counted. And if you bailed out because there was like a slightly long line, because there weren't like 3-hour lines. We're talking about like 35 minutes, 45 fucking minutes, because the tally machine, the voting machines worked. They got a printout version, and instead of putting it in the tally machine, they put it in the slot, and then they took it someplace else and had a tally. Nobody's vote got kicked out. Everybody who signed up for the updates that you get in any of these states, in Nevada or specifically, or Arizona with Carrie Lake, everybody got your vote's been counted. They all got it. It was just the on-site tally machine broke down. It didn't change the outcome of they know this. They're aware of this. The people who voted for her are aware of this.
Front end.
Yeah, it was. I forgot the percentage of machines that did not
60%.
work.
60%.
60%. Yeah. They had it. They couldn't just do 10% and 15. They want to go 60.
They want to go. The perfect 60%.
We want to make it almost unbelievable. Okay, real quickly, let's talk about
almost
My Pillow 2.0. You rolled that out here just recently. What has the reaction been so far for that?
I'll tell you what. And
oh fuck me. He's been. By the way, he's been walking around with a pillow. Like he's got one of the pillows. He's selling the pillow.
Through all of this, I got 2,000 employees.
if this fucker pulls that thing out of the
Place
table,
that one.
like it pulls a Ruby Freeman. Does he? Hold on, because I'm not gonna sit here through a fucking ad, because that's all this. The rest of this, the last like 3 minutes of this is a fucking ad for a pillow.